Hey, what's up everyone? Karaokelove here, back with the ultimate Azwel guide. So in this extensive video, we're going to be covering Azwel's moves, alright? And so this is going to look into everything from his stance moves to his best moves, lethal hits, projectiles, kind of everything there is to know about Azwel's moves. So with that said, let's get right into it. Once again, I am using the Scuffle program to see the frame data of the moves as I do them. You can see that kind of black box in the top middle of the screen there. Alright, so first we're going to talk about his stance moves. So again, as we covered in the last video, he's got three stances, sword, axe, and spear. And so when you kind of go into that animation, you have a number of moves that you can do. So first, let's go ahead and look at his sword stance. So anytime you go into K, up K, or down K, you have access to a handful of moves. So first there's sword AB, okay, which is that guy right there. Minus 18 on block, so be careful throwing it out. But it can be good since that is it hits high, mid, and so if you have an opponent that's blocking, like if you do stance AA, which we'll cover in a sec, those are both highs. If you have an opponent that starts punishing that, then you can do that, and that'll get them. And then you can get a wall hit off of there. And there are some instances where if you, let's see. We'll cover it in the combo section, but basically there are a few instances where if you hit with that move, it will actually launch. All right, so that's a little weird and it's tough to follow up on, but you can launch from that attack, which again we'll cover in the combo section. Next is sword stance AAA. Okay, there is a gap. As you see, I'm only getting 2 hits there, but it's safe. It's only minus 10 on block, it's plus 10 on hit. Okay, and that can be good too if people are trying to block your or react after your AA. All right. So next is AAB. So this one is great because it can ring out. Like you see how far it shoots them. It is minus 14 on block, so be careful. But if you do, if like you've got a grow or a Taki or someone up on you and you do manage to get this out, that can be a great option to kind of get some space. And now they have to try to get back in against Azwel, which is not fun. Okay, so AAB is really good. Next is AAK. So AAK will go back into stance, so it can be looped indefinitely. And then you can do, go into any other. So again, it's just, it goes back into stance. So you have all of your stance moves. You can do, let's see. Yep, so you can do AA back K, AA forward K as well. So stance, AA forward K, and then whatever you want to do from there. So you can go into the other stances as well from there. You can even do, let's see. Oh no, I thought you could do a sideways stance, but you cannot. All right, so you can just do standing stance, forward stance, or backward stance from AAK. All right, then you got stance B, which is a really good move. It's kind of stupidly good. It's only minus 8 on block, surprisingly. So it's, I mean, totally safe. It avoids a lot of attacks. Like his hitbox there will stuff low attacks, and it seems to be able to avoid a lot of highs and mids that I have found. Like he's very difficult to hit while he's in that animation. And if you do hit with it, you get a free 1A or diagonal down back A for a total of 47 damage. So this is a great move to throw out. It will whiff against sidestepping opponents, but like if you're right next to someone and they sidestep, let's go ahead and 8-way run, right? All right, so if I'm here and I do it, you see how much distance there is. So there are some characters that can still punish it pretty well, but it can be difficult, especially if the player isn't expecting it and isn't ready to kind of rush in and do it, okay? You do have to be careful because you can ring yourself out really easily with that move. However, it is a ring out move, so you can get ring outs with it, but it's really dangerous because you can ring yourself out. All right, so next is K. So this does count as a counter hit. If we, let's go ahead and do that. Bam. So there's that counter hit, so you get a stun there, and you can kind of do whatever you want from there. We got some info in the combo video coming up. But yeah, so just know it looks kind of like a dinky move. But if you get that counter hit, you can get some decent damage off of there. I will say I don't use that move a whole lot, but it's better than it looks. All right, and then let's see. Finally, you've got let's see. Move A, B. Oh, sorry. Yep. Looking at my notes, I didn't. Anyway, so again, sword stance. You've got this. Your A plus B turns into these swords. It's plus 8 on block. It's decent. It's not as good as the axe stance, which we'll cover in a minute. But it is. I mean, it's a solid break attack. It's kind of slow at 42 frames. But yeah. All right. So in sword stance, his B and K move, is where I kind of covered in the general section, is that little launcher there. It's a little tough to follow up. You can get some sword moves out of it. You can get your AB, 58 damage. But yeah, your best bet is probably your forward AB, or BA, sorry, for a 56. So yeah, it's a nice little launcher. It is unsafe, like all of his B plus K moves. So you see minus 16 on block, but it does launch. You can go into a super from it. So yeah, you do have to be careful because the projectile goes pretty far. It doesn't go full screen. Like you can see, there's about its max range. But Azwel will only run so far. So even if it hits them, you don't necessarily get a launch from it. So be careful there, but it is a pretty good projectile. All right. So that covers his sword stance. All right, now we're going to move on to his axe stance, and luckily there are only a couple of moves with axe stance. They're all really, really good. Okay, so first is forward K. So if we go forward K is going to be axe. Forward K A is going to be this insane guard break. All right, it just has such good range. It's plus 2 on block, plus 2 on knockdown, which that may not be totally accurate, but it's definitely plus on block and just has crazy range. All right, it is a high, so people can duck it, but from that range, it can be pretty tough for them to really do anything about it. It is a horizontal, so it'll catch sidesteppers. It breaks guard. It's just great. And then let's see, I can't remember how much guard break damage it does, but hey, let's find out. So we'll do standing guard all. Okay, here we go. Bam. 9% guard crush. All right, so you know he's got better guard crush moves, but moves that do more guard crush, but that's still one of his best moves. Just forward K A. All right, go ahead and reset this. Next, this is forward K B, which is another guard crush move. All right, this one leads into a little combo. Just forward B A is really easy, 61%. You can see it's plus 8 on block, which is just really good. That basically gives you a free forward B if they block it. And they may not be able to sidestep it. I'll have to test that out. But yeah, so that is a really good one. And again, remember he's low profiled when he does it. So if you're a ninja, you can duck under a high attack and punish with that and get some nice damage. All right, so that's that. Now that is a lethal hit. If the opponent tries to guard impact or reversal edge, you get that, and then you can get some really solid damage. There we go, 85 damage there with that lethal hit. Okay, and we'll get more into those lethal hits in the lethal hit section. But yeah, and so then his K, which if you just press forward, KK, like hold forward. So if you just do forward K and then press K, that's a stance switch. But if you hold forward and press K twice, you'll do that little double hitting low. All right, which for 30 damage, 31. I don't know why the damage kind of varies in this game. It's very odd. 33 damage. Don't know why, but there we go. So yeah, 30 to 33 damage is pretty solid for a double hitting low. That's low profiling. You're low that entire time. All right, so that's a really great move to throw out, especially to like end a round on. It can ring out. It's a little unreliable, but you see how they kind of go off to Azwel's right when you do it. So basically, if you want your opponent like off to the right there, let's see, there we go. So ring out. All right, so axe stance K is really good. Well, axe stance forward K. All right, and so then finally, you've got that insane axe. Bam. All right. that's one of the best projectiles in the game. I would consider that a short range projectile. But yeah, again, it's plus 12 on block, which is just crazy, and you can cancel it. You can cancel it and act immediately, which just blows my mind. So if you're not abusing that move, you absolutely should be. It's just phenomenal. All right, so throw it out there, cancel into horizontal attacks. Like, what's your opponent, gonna do? Okay, and then I didn't really cover this in the sword section because it's not really stance specific, but I will go ahead and cover his jump moves a little. So Azwel's jumping sword attacks are fine. They're, mids. Great. Kind of slow, but whatever. But his jumping axe attacks are phenomenal. So it's straight up 50-50. Jumping A it's minus 16 on block, so be careful, but it is a low and it'll put you into axe stance. Okay. The only thing with axe stance, that move you do have to be careful. If you're too close to your opponent, it'll whiff. Okay. But then his jumping axe B is just really good range. Oh, there we go. It's only minus 4 on block. And so basically anytime Azwel goes into the air, it's a 50-50. You kind of have to watch him really carefully and see how he's holding how he's positioned his body and holding the axe. But it can be a really good way to end a round if your opponent's low on life. And this one, again, it can ring out. It's a little iffy. But you can technically get a ring out with that jumping move. Oh, just look at that range. It's a low. I just love that attack. All right, and so in axe stance, his B plus K is this dreaded low hit. Oops, that is not it. This dreaded low hitting attack. All right, so that right there. It has deceptive range. So a lot of times, because it kind of, I can't tell if it fully lowers his hitbox, but it does seem to make some high attacks whiff. You can see 60 damage is pretty phenomenal from a single low hitting attack. Okay. It's minus 20 on block, so it is full combo punishable, so you'd have to be careful. But yeah, between that low and his lethal hit, anytime you get a knockdown, it's a guessing game for your opponent, which is pretty cool. And we'll cover that in the section on lethal hits in a little bit. But yes, that is just a phenomenal attack. All right, but that's it for his axe stance. I mean, everything in axe stance is just phenomenal. It's a little overpowered compared to his other stances, especially shield stance, which we will get into now. All right, so shield stance does have some solid attacks. It's just it's not nearly as useful, I would say, as axe stance. Okay, so first I'm going to go shield stance A. Is this kind of weird move? It's a little slow, 24 frames, it's a high, it's minus 8 on block. I do not use this move. It does, you can see it sidesteps, but not really well enough. Like I've yet to successfully sidestep anything with it, I think, maybe once or twice. And you don't really get anything off of it. There's no combo, there's not really anything you can get, except for you can do a guard break if you do AB. Okay, and let's see, 3B. So you can follow up with that kind of, no, yeah, 40, whatever. It's not great. All right, next is shield stance B, which is substantially better. All right, so this has just really good range. You can see how far he goes. All right. Well, there, I was actually trying to make that whiff, but okay. So yeah, just really good range, and because he goes back, so you can see he starts where that little blue ball floating in the air is. So that's where his hand was. If you look at his blue hand, that's where he was. So you can see how far back he goes. It's not a huge amount, but if you're playing Azwel right and you're spacing correctly, you can make stuff whiff, and then you can come in with that attack, all right? And that's just 24 damage by itself, but if you do BB, he's going to shoot that projectile. That is a legit combo. It does 54 damage, and you would be amazed at the number of players that stop blocking after that and get hit by the projectile follow-up, all right? And that projectile, that'll get you wall hits. That will ring out from a mile away. Like, goodbye, you know? So his shield stance BB is phenomenal. It's just a really great move. One of the only reasons to use shield stance, honestly, except for with punishing. All right. So next is his B6 or B forward. Okay. So if you do BB, he hits him and then shoots his projectile. But if you press B and then just hold forward, he just shoots the projectile. All right, so that's just a really solid projectile. It can be sidestepped, and it does have limited range. But shield stance B, and then just hold 6, hold forward. We'll get that out. All right, and then you can also do, so you can actually delay the 6 input. So you could do like shield stance B, and then press 6 before it finishes, and so you like run forward like you're gonna hit with the shield, and then you'll do the projectile. Not crazy useful, honestly, but it can be used for mind games on occasion, I suppose. Finally, what I think is probably the most useless move in shield stance is if you hold back and press KK, so shield stance into shield stance, he does that weird little kick. All right, so the problems with it, it's minus 12. It does 22 damage, and look at that range. It has no range, but you're going backwards to do it, so you basically have to be right next to your opponent. And see, now it's already going to whiff. You don't get anything off of it. It's kind of I think it's useless, especially like if I'm if I want to do lows, I'm going to do axe stance. I'm going to hit for 31 to 33 damage twice and low profile myself and make sure that I'm right next to my opponent. So really, I don't see any use to this. Yeah, I wish I could say otherwise, but I can't. All right, and so finally, when you're in shield stance, you get this spear, which is very short range. It's +4 on block, which is, sure, why not? The best part about it, though, is that it does have guard impact properties, which, let's see here. What am I? Guard impact, spear mode. Okay. Oh, there we go. So it will guard impact high, medium, and low attacks, making it a very good move-based guard input. So it'll guard impact everything, and it has a pretty good window. The other cool thing about it is if you do guard impact, let's see. Let's go ahead and have him attack with BB. All right. So let's go into shield mode. So not only will it guard impact, but the spear still comes down. But you can see it can be a little hard unless they're like right up on you. There we go, and then that gives you a not a free follow-up, like it won't combo, but it does make it your turn. A lot of times you guard impact and they just guard impact you right back. This kind of ensures that now it is definitely my turn. Okay. All right, and so in shield stance, his BK is a little wonky. All right, it's this guy right here. So it has, decent range. You can see from there it did 53. It's about its max. So yeah, so decent range, only did 42 from there. And so that's part of what makes it so wonky is that it whiffs. I don't know, it has a very odd hitbox. It whiffs quite a bit in like weird situations, and even if it does connect, not every hit will always connect. So it's just a very strange move. It does have guard impact properties, which let's see. So it'll guard impact versus middle and low attacks, which is, that's pretty good. But just overall, I don't know. I don't find myself using this move much unless I just happen to be in spear stance, and I think I'm in axe stance, and I want to get that move, but I'm actually in spear stance, and I get that move. So it looks like it should be a horizontal attack, like it spins around him, but it can be sidestepped sometimes. Again, it's just a very wonky hitbox that it makes it a very inconsistent move. So overall, it's, go for it. It does decent damage, and you can kind of abuse that. The guard impact properties are pretty cool, but overall, I don't tend to use it a whole lot. Okay. And so the other final part of Almighty Stance is that you have access to all 3 of your B plus K moves. You just have to use directional inputs. And it actually messes me up more than it helps me. A lot of times, like, I'll try to go for my axe special and I'll get my sword B plus K instead. So it follows the same rules, the kind of general golden rule for Azwel stance is that forward is axe and back is spear. So if you're in Almighty mode, which you can know if you're Almighty there, if you ever want to check what stance you're in, you can press B plus K and then just guard break it, because that won't cost you your stance. So, bam, so I know I'm in Almighty mode. Oh, you get that guard impact regardless, that's pretty cool. Alright, so I'm in Almighty mode. If I press forward B plus K, I'll get axe. And if I press back B plus K, I'll get weird spear move. That's about all there is to that. All right, and then so finally, his last stance, like we covered, is his Almighty mode, where he has access to everything. He has access to, I mean, his frame data saves 8 frames on any of the first weapon attack that you do, but really the benefit is that it gives you this guy right here, which is going to be your +8, just insane A plus B. You're going to get the full guard impact properties of spear stance, and you're going to get the full range of axe stance. And just like the other stances, it can be canceled. So just insane. You want to try to stay in Almighty mode as much as possible, because just this move alone is really good. It can be sidestepped, but again, you can just cancel it and go into axe mode, and now you've lost Almighty stance, but you've still got this incredible axe projectile that you can just throw out. It can't be guard impacted, reversal edged, anything. It's just, it's such a good move. All right, so those are all of his stance moves, but there are actually moves that will transition into stance. So we're going to go ahead and cover those now. So any of these that will transition into stance, for instance, let's go with his 2BB, which is that move right there. Okay, just down BB. You can see if I press down BB, K, well, if I do it, there we go, I go into the sword stance. If I press down BB forward K, I'll go into axe. Down BB back K, I'll go into spear. So all of these moves that transition into stance work that same way, where you can transition into any stance. The only thing you can't do is transition into his sidestep stance. All right, if you press down BB up K, you're just going to transition into normal sword stance. All right. So next is his 2A, which is this guy right here. This is kind of a good get off me move. It's a little slow if you're not in sword stance. Actually, it's very slow, but it's only 14 frames if you are in sword stance. So that can be a good way to kind of interrupt someone's pressure and start your own, especially if you get used to going back into more sword stance shenanigans. Or if you know your opponent is going to keep using fast high attacks, you can do it into axe mode forward K to kind of stay low profile that whole time, because that low profiles, that keeps you low profile, that keeps you low profile, so you'll avoid all high attacks, so it's pretty cool. Next is BB, so that move right there, you can do that into stance. The rain, it knocks back so far and hit that you're usually best going into forward stance or shield stance. Oh. So you can get that one. Man, you see how far that knocks him? He went flying like a cannonball. All right, but yeah, so BB will transfer. Next is his 2-2A. So these will both transfer. And this is one of those moves. Let's see. If I don't suck. So you see, now I get that launch if I'd go into sword mode AB. So usually sword mode AB just does that. But if you do it after this 2-2A, I'm sorry, 2-2B. Wow, I'm doing 2-2B. I hate the notation in this game. But 2-2B into sword stance into AB, you'll get that. And it's a little hard to follow up with. But it is a launcher, and we'll kind of cover what you can do with that in the combo section. All right, so now let's do 2-2A, which is just an insanely good move. So it is a high, but it's only -12 on block, and it cancels into spear stance. All right, and so it is a lethal hit if your opponent is sidestepping. So again, if you find they're if you're in axe mode and they start sidestepping that attack, you can block and go into 2-2A, and you'll get a lethal hit, and you can get some really serious damage off of that. So like lethal hit, forward K is one of my favorites. You go into that, and you can get some solid damage. All right. So there you go. Let's see. Next is his sword stance AA. So again, we kind of already covered this, but that will link into itself indefinitely. Okay. And then finally his reversal edge, which I think we already covered. Let's see. So his A can go into stance. So for instance, if I do reversal edge, I'm going to press A, K, and you can do any of his stance space moves from there, which I can't remember now off the top of my head. There's some good ones, and I'll cover those in the combo video in a little bit. But yeah, and so those are all of his moves that will transfer into stance. All right, so now let's talk about Azwel's projectiles. Let me go ahead and reset this. So again, in this game of Soulcalibur, like up close weapon fighting, Azwel has the best, not projectile, but projectiles in the game. It's kind of crazy. So first off, it's going to be his 6-6A, which is this axe move. All right, that'll put you in axe mode, which is really good already. But you'd be surprised at how difficult it is to sidestep. I have closed out so many rounds of people that are trying to close the gap on me, and they're avoiding that move, they're avoiding that move, and you toss out one of these guys, nick them for 26 damage, and congratulations, you won the round. So it's just an insanely good move. I don't know why it's so difficult to sidestep, but it is. If you're not like already in like your full speed sidestep, it's gonna nick you. So you always have to be on the lookout for that. It is a high, so you can duck it. But yeah, it's just insanely good projectile. Next is his 4-4B, which is this guy right here. All right, this is a lethal hit from up to 3 characters away. So that'll be a lethal hit. All right, but that will not. Okay, but if you do get that lethal hit, you can get this little 1BB, 1A combo for 65 damage, which is nuts. This will also guard break. So like if we get our opponent and we, let's see, guard crush just before guard crush. All right, so this is where things get a little weird. So this move will guard crush, but it won't teleport you. It won't count as a lethal hit. So if I do it, oops, let me set him to block first. Stand, guard, all. Okay, so if I do it, it'll guard crush, but I don't get the lethal hit. However, there's enough time to do another one. So if you ever do guard crush with it, just do another one and don't suck like I do. So there. So just keep that in mind. If you ever do guard crush with that, just do another one and you're good to go. Next is his 4K B6, which again is this guy right here. That can guard crush as well. And if you do get a guard crush with that, you can get that same projectile lethal hit. All right. So it's exceptionally good projectile. These can all be guard impacted, so you do have to be careful. But they basically give Azwel better range than Ivy. I've had a lot of players in ranked, they'll just stand back. Like I don't know what they're thinking. They're just gonna like stand here and not attack me. They want me to come to them, and then they're gonna show me what for. And it's like, no, I'm just gonna hang back and shoot projectiles. I just want to eat spaghetti. So you just hang back and just hammer them with these projectiles to chip down their guard, and then hammer them some more. And now you're in, great. And now they're down 64 health. So these projectiles are just great. And then finally, again, one of my favorite moves in the game is this, just that right there is so good. And if you do get that, again, you can get that guy. It's just pretty much if you get a guard break and you're too far away to capitalize on it with anything else, just go for that and you're going to get some solid damage. So yeah, so that covers his projectiles. So now we're going to look at his jumping attacks, and I kind of already covered earlier, his jumping axe moves are all phenomenal. Just again, that one is a mid and it's -4 and it guard breaks. This one is a low, it is -16, but it's a low and it just has such good range. So basically anytime Azwel jumps at you, it's basically a 50-50. It does solid guard crush damage. Let's see, can't remember exactly how much. Let's go ahead and reset this. What? Okay. So 15% guard crush, which is just pretty crazy for such a good move. I mean, it's totally safe. That range is nuts. It's a 50-50 with his low. So it is really great. Okay. So his jumping backwards moves, not so much. So they're 50-50s as well. However, they're vertical, so they can be sidestepped. The guard crush is only 9%. So there's that. The range is decent, but again, like from right here, I could hit with either of my axe jump moves. All right. But I would not be able to hit with either of my spear moves, okay? So the spear, it can ring out. That one right there kind of launches. You can't really get anything off of it that I've been able to find. But yeah, you know, great. 22 damage. Sweet. And then this one is a low. It's a decent low, but it's minus 18 on block. It's minus 4 on hit, if that's frame data is to be believed, and you're still right next to your opponent. So you're putting yourself at a disadvantage in order to do 28 damage with literally no follow-up. I don't know why you would ever really do that I can think of, except maybe to close out a round if you just need to nick your opponent in the foot. So sure. And you know, decent range, but I don't really use it. Okay, and then again, his sword moves, we already kind of covered these earlier. They're fine. You'll avoid a low attack and you'll hit your opponent. It'll leave you at a slight advantage. Great, and then you can kind of follow up with your 10 frame high, which is, you know, cool. It's nothing, you know, pretty good. All right, so now we're going to look at Azwel's lethal hit moves. So first up is his 3B. All right, so this is just a really great move in general. We'll cover it in his best moves section. But what makes it really good is that if we set the opponent to crouch guard, all right, so if they're just crouching, it won't be a lethal hit, but if they're crouch guarding, it will, and you get a really nice high damage, 71 damage combo if it lethal hits, which is great because if you're in axe mode with Azwel, then anytime you get a knockdown, your opponent has to guess between that 61 damage low or this 70, what do we say, 70 something damage lethal hit, 72 damage lethal hit combo. All right, so that makes the guessing game incredibly dangerous for Azwel, or I mean, if you're playing against Azwel. All right. And if you ever do BB, because again, B is minus 17 on block, that 3B by itself. So I do use that quite a bit if my opponent keeps trying to crouch guard once I get them trained to block that. All right, but it is minus 17, so be careful. That's only minus 11, the 3BB. And if you do knock down with that, you get a free 6/6B follow-up for 60 damage still. So don't be afraid to go ahead and do that, or you know, try any other kind of follow-up. All right, so next is 4B, which is this guy right here after a level 3 guard impact in shield mode. And so what I'm actually going to do, instead of trying to set that up, is I'm just going to show it here. Go, lethal hit, here we go. So you see, you get that guard impact, and then you do that, and you'll get a lethal hit. All right, so it has to be a level 3 guard impact. Let's see, which is the, like, against the fastest attacks. He did that, bam, and now I get a lethal hit. All All right, so next is his A-B guard break versus a guard impact or a reversal edge. So if this hits, you do get a 6 BA follow-up. The timing is a little tight. So if I get that, there we go, for 63 damage. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, let's see. You can get that for 43. It's just not, not as much damage, but the timing is definitely easier. All right, so next is 2-2A versus a 8-way run opponent. So if your opponent starts sidestepping all of your stuff, then this 2-2A is really good. All right, so if you remember from the stance information, 2-2A can be canceled into stance. So you can actually cancel and get a nice 75 damage combo there. You can, let's see. So there's that. So there's 90 damage, but the timing is, I don't know, I find it a little inconsistent. See, like that time it missed. So I don't know if I just suck or if it is inconsistent. But there we go. So it hit that time. 89 damage. Again, the damage is inconsistent. But yeah, so this is a really great lethal hit. You're going to get it quite a bit because opponents will start sidestepping, especially once you start throwing out like your axe move, your axe A+B, and just doing all these things to make your opponent need to sidestep. And you see the range is just incredible. So I'm outside of range right now just to kind of show the maximum I can go. But like from here, there we go. So like you see, that's about the tip of the range. So 2-2A is just really good, and you get that really easy combo follow-up. You can, let's see, go into a sword mode and get that launch, but it's only 56 damage because it's kind of hard to capitalize on that little launch there from the AB from sword mode. But yeah, so that is a great lethal hit. All right, next is 2-2B versus a whiffed move. This one is a little, I find it inconsistent. But let's see. So we're gonna go ahead and do BB, and we're just gonna keep sidestepping. But you see how it whiffs? There. So now there's my my lethal hit. Let's see. And this too can be there's my ring out, can be canceled into your stance. And so basically kind of like the sidestep A, you'll want to do it, you'll always want to cancel it into stance. But again, it's just kind of inconsistent, but that's okay. All right, next is his 4-4B, which we already covered this pretty well. As long as you're at least 3 bodies away, or 3 characters away. So like right now, I'm next to him. Right now, I'm 1 character away, 2 characters away. Let's see, that might, yeah. So you gotta be about here, like somewhere between those two. From here, that's too close. There we go. So I'll get that. You can follow it up with a nice little combo there, which we'll cover in the combo section. All right. So, and that, again, that'll be a lethal hit from anywhere further than your body's away. So even full screen, you're going to be right in on your opponent. Bam, bam, bam. And now they got to guess between all my nonsense. Okay, so it's really good. All right, so the next one is a little weird. So this move is a really good move, and it can be turned into a lethal hit move. But first, what you have to do, so I got to go into sword mode. I got to hit him with that. Then I gotta go into axe mode and hit him with that. And finally, I gotta go into spear mode and hit him with that. And now, if I use this move, it will be a lethal hit. And you can kind of follow up with the combo from there. However, now it is gone. So if I do it again, it is no longer a lethal hit. I'd have to hit with all 3 of those previous attacks again to build it back up. So it's not really something you're going to be doing much, if at all. The good news is that it does save those attacks from round to round. So you could hit with like the axe and the sword in 1 round, and then win or lose that round, go into the next round, hit with spear, and then go into a 3rd round, and you have access to your lethal hit with this move. So it does kind of save those moves from round to round. All right, next is this move. So basically if you, let's see, listen, it's a little weird. So I'm gonna go ahead and come back into the lethal hits. All right, so here we go. So if you get a guard break that goes into your beauty of balance, which is your neutral K, and you press B, you'll get a lethal hit. All right, and so it's a little weird because I think the only guard break move that you have that goes into sword mode is going to be that one right there. Let's see. Yep. So if I come over here and I set my opponent to just before guard crush. So now, oh man, I gotta set him to block. Such a pain. Standing guard. All right. So now that's gonna guard crush. All right. So if I do that and go into stance B, now I get that lethal hit, and I can kind of follow that up with some other stuff, which I'll cover in the combo section. So it's a very, it's a little situational, but if you do get it, you can get some solid damage off of it. All right, so now we're going to cover his axe mode. That attack, axe mode B. Okay, which if your opponent tries to reversal edge or guard break, or not guard break, guard impact, then it will count as a lethal hit. And you can follow it up with some pretty good things. That's probably my favorite. Go for that 81 damage combo there. You got to be quick about it, better than quicker than me. But yeah, so that's a very good lethal hit, especially just because it is pretty easy to hit this combo. Okay, and then his reversal edge B and reversal edge A, they both can have some lethal hit properties, but they're like, has automatic follow up, so it's not really worth covering in this guide. So nothing you can really capitalize on. All right, so now we're going to cover the moves that lead into his almighty mode, which really is just going to be, oops, let me take that off. So it's just going to be his forward A plus B and his 8-way run A plus B, okay, and then throw. But that also includes any moves that lead into those, such as AAA or BBB. Okay, so let's see. Yep, and so really that's it. So those are the moves that are going to lead into his almighty mode. So now we're going to cover Azwel's moves that will break your opponent's guard. So these aren't just moves that do guard crush, but these are the moves that will actually, like, if your opponent is their guard is flashing and it can be broken, these are moves that will actually break it. So all of his axe moves except for that move will break guard, and I don't think his jumping, let's see, yes, and none of his jumping lows will. So like his jumping A will not, and his jumping back A will not, but both jumping attacks will, and I think his sword will. Actually, let me double check that real quick. Standing guard all, let's see. Okay, good. So that will, and that'll let you follow up with some good stuff. Okay, so all of his jumping vertical attacks will break guard. Let's see. His shield stance 6B will. That right there. His shield stance BB will, which is again is that kind of projectile, and his shield stance AB will. Okay. His blade of balance AAB will break guard, which again that's just a really good string, that AAB there, and his shield stance B will break guard. All right, any of his ABs will. Okay. His 6 BB will. That one, I'll cover that in the move section in a bit, but it's that was a little dangerous to throw out, and I'll cover why. All right, so then his sword mode, B plus K, the second hit will break guard. And his axe mode, the B plus K, which is really good, will. Let me set him to crouch guard, though. Let's see, because it's actually a little difficult to follow up on. There's like a weird delay to it. So you do get the, which I got that because he's crouching. You do get the guard break, but they recover before you can really do anything. It's very strange. So you do that. Yeah, and I don't know. That delay makes it very difficult to follow up on. So I don't recommend breaking your opponent's guard with that move if you can help it. His axe mode, B plus K. All right. So that move is one of the best guard crush moves in the game, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and it will absolutely crush guard. It has 22% guard crush as well. So like if you need to crush your opponent's guard, go for that, cause whew, that's gonna do it. Let me go ahead and reset him. All right, next is your BBB, which of course just leads into that move, so that'll still crush your opponent's guard. So Azwel has these two kind of weird moves. It's B and then backwards and B and forwards. All right, so literally like you press B and then you press forward really quick, or you press B and you press back really quick. And just remember when I say B, I'm talking about like the Soulcalibur notation B, not the B button on your controller if you're using a controller. So both of those moves will break guard, and that seems to be pretty much all they're good for. They're relatively fast. That's 12 frames, which is pretty cool. 18 frames. But they're, I don't know, they're very strange, just odd moves, but they'll break guard, so both of those will. Next, his 3BB will. So the first hit will not. Let's see. Okay, so that will not, but that second hit will. And you can get a nice little follow-up from that. His 1BB will. Pretty much any attack where he's like slamming them with his shield is gonna do the trick. Okay, so then his like crouching, his forward crouching BB is that right there. It's very similar to just his 3BB. You can see it comes out a little bit different and the frame data is different, but that will guard break. It's also a little safer. His normal BB is -11, you can see on block, but this one is only -8. Okay, let's see. So while you're rising, so again, if I'm crouching and I do BB, I mean, it's just that. If I'm standing and I do BB, it's that. But if I do BB while like in the process of standing up from crouch, that will break guard. His again, his AB from all stances is going to break guard, just like any characters will. So we already covered this a bit in his lethal hit properties, but that will break it, and then you can cancel into stance if you don't suck like me, and then you'll get a lethal hit, which you can get some kind of cool stuff from there. All right, next is his 6-6B, or his forward B is a really good guard break, and you can get some good stuff off of that. His 4-4B, we'll cover this a little bit earlier as well. So that will guard break, but it won't give you that lethal hit. However, if it does guard break, just do it again, and you will get the lethal hit, and you can get your full 1BB, 1A combo for 56 damage. All right, and then so finally, so Azwel doesn't have a kick, but he still has that kind of universal. If he's running and presses kick, he'll do it, and that will break guard. All right, so now we're going to cover Azwel's moves that you can use to ring out your opponent. Most of these are pretty consistent. There are a couple that are a little tricky, and I'll be sure to kind of go into how to do the ring out with each move. So first is going to be his 6AA, which is just, I mean, easy enough. Without a ring out from, I don't know. You're going to get ring outs with that all the time. It's such a good ring out move. Okay, next is his 6BA if they're in a juggle. So pretty much if I launch and then 6BA, it's going to knock them off. It usually moves them to the right of Azwel, so you want to kind of be like, you want the ring to be to your right, because if I'm like over here and I do it, you can actually kind of cost yourself a ring out by bringing them closer towards the ring. But yeah, so if you're juggling and the ring is on your right, you can do a 6BA and get a pretty easy ring out from that. This AB will ring out. Just remember it's -20 on block, so be careful throwing it out, but you can get a nice little ring out from that. His BOB, which is his blade of balance, so this AAB will shoot your opponent out of the ring. This one is a little inconsistent, but the blades of balance, so sword mode, AB can. But as you see, like right here, he's right at the edge and he's not coming out. So it's very inconsistent. There are times when it will work, but it's I don't recommend, like, that shouldn't be your go-to ring out move. All right, and then that one right there, the sword mode B, can be used to ring out your opponent, but be very careful because you're going out with them, and if they sidestep, if any number of things can happen, it'll make you ring yourself out instead of your opponent. So it's really dangerous. So be careful with that. All right. So next we're going to cover some of his shield stance moves that will ring out. So of course, shield stance BB will shoot your opponent out. That is, whew, there he goes. That'll ring out from a mile away. It's great. Shield stance B6, just that projectile is going to ring out. I'm going to start trying to reset this before it actually does the ring out. But you can see, man, like he's going out of the ring. That'll ring out from a mile away. Okay. His shield stance AB can, it can be a little inconsistent because it kind of knocks them straight down, so they have to be like right up against the edge. But yeah, so shield stance AB will do it. And then his axe moves, basically all of his axe moves will. So his forward KB is that one right there, which that can ring out on its own, but you get a free forward BA afterwards. It's gonna you're gonna get a ring out if they're anywhere close to the ring and you do that. Okay. Next is Tower or A, that guy right there. So you see they have to be kind of right up against it, but they'll kind of slide off if you do it right. Now they kind of slide to Azwel's left. All right, but you can get the ring out that way. And then let's see. So this move right here can do it. You see how they kind of go off to the right? So it's a little inconsistent, but you can get ring outs with it. I don't know why it's not working right now. There we go. So you can get ring outs, it's just a little inconsistent. Usually it's not that inconsistent. I don't know why that wasn't working, but yeah, you have to be lucky to get it, and the ring needs to be on your right. Like the edge of the ring needs to be to your right. All right, so then his 9A, his jumping A can. This one is another one that's kind of inconsistent, but you can see how it kind of goes off to the right. It's kind of similar to the forward KK, only forward KK is a bit more consistent than the jumping A. But I've definitely seen that work in a lot of real matches that I have played online. So it definitely does work, it's just inconsistent. All right, so 1A is a really good one. That can ring out from surprisingly far away. But yeah, it's a low, it just knocks your opponent right off the edge there. So his 1A, or diagonally down back A, is really good. Next is going to be his 7B, which is this one right here. So you see he just kind of goes right up over the edge. I'm going to restart before I have to go through that ring out animation again. But that one, it works for a ring out. Again, I don't use that move a whole lot, but it can work. Let's see. Next is his 6-6B, which is another launcher. Pretty much any launcher is going to do the trick. So that by itself would do it, but you can follow it up with that forward B-A for a guaranteed ring out. Next is his 4-4A, which is, let's see, that right there. It's a little wonky. Again, you can see how they kind of go to Azwel's left, but you see you can knock him right out if you're at the correct angle. All right, so next are his crouching moves, which are if you're crouching and you hold 3 and press A, that move right there will ring out from a mile away. It's just such a good ring out move. So just while crouching, hold diagonal down forward, which is the 3 notation, and press A, and you'll get that, which is basically a faster version of his forward AA. Okay, his crouching 3B can, so it's a little inconsistent. They have to be kind of right next to it, but if you do crouching 3, you see it goes right off the edge. What's more consistent though, and there's really no reason not to do it this way, is to do the crouching 3BB, which is that right there, and that'll slam them right over the edge there for you. Okay. You can also do it from the crouching 1B, so that right there, again, it's just a launcher, so of course it's going to ring them out, and you can even make sure by poking them afterwards. So you're going to get a nice ring out from that. So his 1BB can also ring out pretty easily. You have to be careful. That's if it's not a legit like combo or link. But yeah, so that'll ring out. And then finally, the only other thing he has that can ring out, though it is very situational, is if he goes into Soul Charge, is this move, which really is only if you get like a knockdown. See how it kind of launches up that way? There are certain things you can do to kind of keep launching, but it's very situational, but you can technically ring out from that move. All right, so now we're going to talk about Azwel's guard impact moves, which he has, looks like 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 of those. These are a little tough to set up, and they're not really consistent enough to rely on, I don't think. But let's go ahead and just give it a shot. So we're going to set him to attack with his BB, which is just mids. All right, so first is going to be his spear mode, B plus K, which is just that right there. Let's see. Again, these are very difficult to set up. Keep going. There we go. So you see it got the guard impact. So the guard impact comes out pretty early when you actually use the move, which is nice. It makes it kind of easier to hit with. But as you can see, there we go. So basically you want to use it right when your opponent is about to hit with their attack, and you can kind of get that going, which does make it like that's kind of the only redeeming quality of that spear move, is that the guard impact is pretty reliable compared to his others, though you can see if they're not like right up on top of you, it's going to whiff and leave your opponent at a pretty hefty advantage. All right. So next is his 1A, which is this guy right here. Now this one is a little weird. The guard impact actually comes out after the attack, so it's really only good for if you like whiff. Making sure I can do it on grow without hitting him. Yeah. So there you can see he hit me after the attack came out. So it's very, very weird. If you whiff that attack, then it can it can help protect you. There we go. All right, so next we're going to look at his 4A, which is this guy. Oh, let's go back up here. It's this fast attack here. So this one, the guard impact comes out right at the beginning. you want to do it right when your opponent is about to hit, which grows range is so short with this attack. I actually can't seem to get it. There we go. So so yeah, there it does. You don't really get anything off of it. So it's again not too great to like rely on, but that's how you do it. It's the beginning of your back A. Okay, and it'll only work against high attacks. So next is his 1B, which is this guy right here, which will guard impact low attacks. So if we take him over here and we do this down K, okay, so that is a low. Let's see. There we go. So again, it's kind of right at the beginning. You want to use it like right when your opponent is about to hit you, and you will guard impact it. There you go. So again, don't really get much off of it. It might even, let's see. Yeah, so not really much you can do. You're in spear stance then, and all of your spear stance moves are so slow that it doesn't really do a lot for you. So I don't really see what the point is, but oh well. Next is his 4B, this guy right here, which will protect against mid attacks. Now this one is pretty consistent. But again, you just don't really get much off of it, which drives me crazy. So go back to his BB. There we go. So it lasts for a little while. It has a very generous timing. Okay, so if your opponent's using a lot of mid attacks, then great. But again, it like doesn't really give you an advantage other than like surprising your opponent, I guess, because it puts you in spear stance, and all of your spear stance moves are so slow. So great. But there you go. And then finally, and this part I guess is good, is the if you're in almighty mode, then this will protect against everything. All right. Bam. So I think once Azwels really start abusing that, then he's going to be a lot more dangerous. Bam. All right, so that one is really good. All right, and that brings us to the final section of this video, just covering his moves, and we're just going to look at some of his best moves. All right, so again, we kind of looked at all the ones that have special properties, lethal hits and ring out potential and all of that, but he has a lot of just solid moves that don't have special properties like that. So here's where we're going to cover those. All right, so first is his 6B, which is this. It's just an amazing poke. All right, when you're in axe stance, it comes out at 14 frames. Look at that. It's got good range. It's a mid. It's just, I mean, it's great. It's only -6 on block. So you're going to be poking your opponent a lot with this move. All right. And it leads into, well, technically 2 of his best moves. All right. So first is his forward BA, which is this right here, which is just great for catching. Like, again, the range on it is just crazy. So you can see the tip of that. I'm standing outside of its range right now, but it almost hits grow all the way from there. If I'm like right here, that actually connects for 10 damage, but still. And it'll hit sidestepping opponents. And so one really great thing you can do is once you're poking with this and your opponent starts sidestepping it, is to start mixing it in with that, which brings them in and leaves you +8, which is enough for another forward A. The only problem with this forward AB is that it puts you into spear stance. I can tell by that. So you don't really have access to really fast moves. Let's see. Yes, that's 18. So that's what is his fastest spear move? That might be, I think 18 might be it. Yep. So I mean, but either way, it pulls them in. You're +8, and I mean, the fastest moves in the game are only 10 frames. So if they just frame a 10-frame move, they can maybe interrupt. So if you do that into that, you basically get a free the 1BB. Okay, so that into that into that. It's just really solid, especially because it's low, mid, high, kind of all over the place. All right, so that's his 6B into A. His 6BB is a very mixed bag. So this is the scrub killer. All right, online. So this move is +4 on block, and it leaves you in axe stance. Well, that's a 14-frame poke. So if you do that and it's blocked and you go into axe stance, they have to, I mean, a 10-frame move will tie it. So basically it's a frame trap. They can sidestep, they can guard impact. There are some options that they do have, but for the most part, like if you're playing online rank, you're going to be hitting people with that into axe stance or into that poke constantly. I mean, you can get some really good frame traps off of that. Start mixing in that move. It's frame trap central. All right. Here's where things become problematic. So if I set his second action to guard impact, all right. So I'm going to hit him with this first move. All right. So now he's going to guard impact. So if that first move hits, there's such a big gap that you can still guard impact. So literally, if you're against an opponent who knows what they're doing against Azwel and on top of their game, you should never be able to hit with that second hit. You just shouldn't. Even if you hit them with the first hit, they're going to guard impact the second hit. All right. So if your opponent's letting you get away with it, then abuse the hell out of it, because it's a frame trap. It's just really good. It's 15% guard crush. It's crazy. You can just ruin people with that move if they don't know how to punish it. All right. So just let that be a lesson to you. And if they do block that first move, there is actually such a good, such a big gap that they can sidestep. So if the first part hits, they can't sidestep, but they can guard impact. But if they block, they can sidestep, and look at that punish. And that's 100% of the time. I mean, if you block it, just hold up. All right. So that's when you got to start getting tricky, throwing in like forward B A. Now I've caught him, you know, and getting tricky that way. So next is a 6 AA. This move is just insane. Let me go ahead and reset grow here. All right, so just the range on it is nuts. If he's in axe mode, it comes out at 18 frames, which is just maybe a little too fast for a move with that much range. Okay, they are both highs, so you can get, if your opponent is savvy and they have some good low profile attacks, they can kind of sneak under it and get you. But the other thing to keep in mind is look at that block advantage. All right, it is +2 on block. +2 on block. It leaves you in axe mode. Well, that's 14 frames. So again, you have 12 frames to follow that up with a 6AB or a 6BA or 6BB. So again, just this move, you're going to be using that move a lot. It is insane. Whew, it's very crazy. All right. If they start trying to duck under it a lot, you can do this 3B, which isn't quite as good. It doesn't really lead into anything, but it does do, 20 damage. It's only -8 on block. And it's a mid, so it will hit them if they're trying to get under this attack. Oops. And it rings out. Oh my god, it's just such a good move. Okay. So a very similar one is his crouching. So if you're crouching and you hold down 3 and you press A, he does that move. I think that has actually slightly more range. So like forward A is there, crouching A is there. So I think it has slightly more range. Yeah, it definitely does. So the crouching 3A has more range than regular 6AA. It's minus on, or it's neutral on block. It's not +2, but who cares? And it can ring out from a mile away and get you just some insane wall damage as well. Like it wall hits like nobody's business, and it's just that range. All right, so you really want to get used to using that when you can. Just 3 guard, and while holding down 3, press A. All right, so 3 guard, still holding it down. And no, I get that quite a bit, that accidentally throwing that axe projectile. Gotta work on that, but I mean, look how easy it is to ring out with that. So his crouching 3A is just nuts. Okay, next is his 3B and 3BB. All right, so as we already covered in the lethal hit section, that combined with that is just deadly. It is super dangerous. All right, because it's a mid and it launches into that like what do we say, 73 damage, something like that. All right, so and it just has really good range. Like look at that range. Oh, I love that. Okay, so if you do hit with 3BB, which is only -11, you get a free follow-up. You can do that for 57. You can do some spear mode stuff for 58, and it'll catch side rollers and all that. So it's really great. You just get a free follow-up. I mean, 57 damage off of that range with a 19 frame startup. Come on, only -11 on block. It's just almost too good. Okay, so along the same line, so kind of like his forward AA has a crouching counterpart in that crouching 3A. His B is the same. So if you crouch and press BB, you'll get that attack, which is only -8, okay? It doesn't get you a follow-up, so you can see that did not combo. However, the crouching 3B by itself is also only -8, and it gets you a forward B A follow-up, okay, which can be great for ringing out and wall hits and all kinds of stuff. All right, so this crouching 3B is just really good. Like if you play Azwel, you're gonna need to get used to using these crouching moves because they're phenomenal. So that move is really good because it's just so easy to hit confirm. Like it's only -8 and it has that crazy range. So just throw it out. Like don't be afraid to throw it out. If it hits, you get 52 damage combo. If they block it, they get nothing. So just a great move to throw out. All right, and we already covered his jumping axe moves. It's just phenomenal moves. Again, just straight up 50-50. A great way to end a round and just throw your opponent off of their game. Especially like as a whiff punisher, you know, you're gonna hit from way back there. Like look at the range on that. Oh, bam. It's great. And crush that one. The jumping B can crush guard. It does. I think it's either 10 or 15% guard crush. Those are just great moves. So next is 6KK. Again, you're low profile the entire time. You're gonna avoid any high attacks, and you get some nice space from your opponent. Like now I'm way back here. So yeah, it's just a double hitting low that creates space and is immune to high attacks. Like what's not to love? It's just really good. Really all of his axe stance moves are just amazing. So axe stance 6B is this guard crush attack, which again, you just get some really phenomenal damage off of, just easy phenomenal damage. It's a lethal hit if they try to guard impact or reversal edge. And again, you know, when you do it, you're low. You are low to the ground, so you can make a high attack whiff and then come in and punish with that. We get a ring out, wall hit, whatever. So that's good. However, his best, arguably his best move is that. Just look at that range. It's +2 on block. It'll guard crush. It does, what was it, 10%? Let's go ahead and just set him to standing guard all. So 9% guard crush, and it can crush guard, okay? So when you start combining that in, so like here, you've got projectiles. You can do that into that. You can do that. Like, oh my, you can make it so difficult for your opponent to get in on you, okay? But just, that move is so good. And that's just forward K A. It's so easy too. Just forward K A. Like you should always be hitting your opponent with that. Here we go, guard crush. I'll just do something stupid. All right. So next is his 1A, which is that. All right. So it's a really nice ranged sweep. It's a little slow at 26 frames. The great news is if you do whiff it, he's got that guard impact against low and was it low and mid attacks? 1A, yeah, mid and low attacks. So you're pretty well protected if you whiff it. And if you hit, it rings out. It's just a really solid move. It does solid damage. It's a great ender. If you ever get like a wall hit and you're not prepared to capitalize on it, just do that. If you ever get a knockdown, it can be really easy to just follow it up with that. You'll catch a lot of okie options as well. All right. His projectiles we already covered. Like what else is there to say? Like that move, lethal hit, guard break, just like, oh my god, it's so good. That move right there, again, because you can like mix it in with all of this other stuff. Like, is he gonna throw a projectile? Is he gonna come and hit my sidestepping when I'm trying to sidestep his projectile? What's gonna happen? It can ring out, it can guard crush. Oh, it's just incredible. It knocks him back on guard, so he can kind of keep your opponent out that way. His axe will, it doesn't do as much guard crush as the others, but it will hit sidesteppers a lot of the time. If they're not like already in the process of full sidestepping, then that will catch them. And it's I've won so many rounds just by cheesing out the opponent with these projectiles. Okay, and of course that includes that move right there. I count that as a projectile. Again, it'll guard crush. It's +12 on block. You can cancel it to go right into horizontal moves if they try to sidestep. It's just deadly. Like, oh, I love that move. All right. Next is going to be his 4K BB. So just 4K B is good. It's slow, But if you're playing right and like you're hovering around your opponent's the tip of their range and you can get them to whiff an attack, you can kind of hold off and then come in and nail them with that. It is a legit combo, so it does really significant damage, and you'd be amazed at the number of people that'll get hit with that and stop blocking, and that hits them instead. So there's no gap there. That's gonna hit. So like if your opponent is against the edge of the ring, you can kind of knock them with that really hard. That sounds filthy. And then look at that, 15% guard crush. Been disconnected from Steam. Oh no. Okay, so his 4K BB is just really solid. His Almighty mode, A plus B, is, I mean, one of the best moves in the game, just because it's got guard impact properties. You've got that axe there. It's going to break their guard. 14% guard crush. I mean, what's not to love? Again, you can cancel it. Like, that's what's so crazy is you got mind games on top of just the solid utility. So abuse that move. It is so good. So next up is your 8-way run. A is just really good, but what makes it, not only does it get you a lethal hit, but it can be canceled into any of your stances. So 8-way run, A into stance is just really solid, especially if you do end up getting that lethal hit. You can get some amazing damage off of that combo right there. It doesn't do a lot of guard crush, but it's just when your opponent starts trying to sidestep all of your really good vertical nonsense, that move is gonna kill him. All right, so next is his 4B, which is this guy right here. So for a guard impact, a guard crush or a guard break move, has really solid range. It leaves you +4. It's a little slow at 28 frames, but it does have those solid guard impact properties like we saw earlier. So you don't really get much off of the guard impact, but it can be tough for an opponent to kind of get through that wall there unless they're sidestepping. And again, just look at that range. Like from right here, that'll hit, and it won't. That's really strange. Yeah, that's annoying that it won't actually break their guard, but it can get them there pretty quickly with that 15% guard crush. So it's a really solid move, especially after a guard impact. Like if you guard impact someone, so many people in this game like to guard impact back. So guard impact and then do that, and you can crush their guard pretty easily. All right, next is going to be your 6AB, which is that right there. So get right up next to him. Look at that, 22% guard crush, 22%. So you do that a couple of times, you are going to guard crush your opponent, all right? It's only -6 on block. It's just, it can be sidestepped, but if you use it from right up next to your opponent, let's go ahead and set him to 8-way run. Okay, so if I'm right next to my opponent and I use that move, look how far away I am now. So use it. If you're right up against them, you're going to guard crush 22% and be safe. If they sidestep, I'm free. Like, I'm out of here. I don't think you can ring yourself out with it either. Don't quote me on that. Let's see. Yeah, it seems... Yeah, so it stops you at the edge, so you can't ring yourself out with it, which is really nice. So it's a really good mode. Or a really good move. Go ahead and reset in. All right, and of course, I gotta mention the axe mode B plus K. If you're in Almighty mode, it's forward B plus K, but that right there is why people hate Azwel. 60 damage low. It is -20, but it's insane. All right, and then finally, if you're in soul mode or soul charge or whatever it is, then this move and this move become even better. So this move becomes +2 on block and can ring out from a mile away. +2 on block. Can you believe that? That is just crazy. And this move is still going to do your 22% guard crush, but now you're getting that +4 on block. So it's +4 on block. It's just amazing. And anytime you hit, you get that tech. It leaves you in Almighty mode again, which is already good, but you get that knockdown as well. That's even in the normal mode. So you can follow up with that. Look, 75 damage. So if that hits, you're gonna get 75 damage. Oh, that move is so good. That's just forward A plus B. Forward A plus B. Bam, like you're screwed. So those are both just excellent moves to throw out. Okay, and so next up is gonna be his Soul Charge. Turn the volume down a little bit. 8 A plus B is just crazy. So you can see that hitbox. All right, that move is only -10 on block, so it's basically totally safe. It does guard crush, so it won't actually crush their guard, but it does do guard crush damage. So let's see if we go to standing guard off. All right. So we can see it does 15%, which I was thinking it was 10%. Oh my God. So yeah, so that does 15% guard crush, which is just nuts. I mean, thankfully it can't actually break their guard. Otherwise that would be way too cheap, because then you could just do that into his super. But yeah, so that move is just great. I mean, it does have launch properties, and we'll cover this in the combo section a bit. But let me reset him. So pretty much if you ever get a knockdown into that sun state, you can get some combo, like 100 damage from that, which is pretty good. And there's all kinds of ways to get that knockdown. Let's see, that's not one of them. but yeah, so pretty much anytime you put your opponent into that crumple state, you can launch them with that just up A plus B, 8 A plus B soul mode, and get some hefty damage. All right. And so finally is one of his best moves. If you have enough meter, so you need 2 bars. So you spend 1 bar to go into Soul Charge, and then if you press forward Soul Charge, you're gonna do this. And you can see just the range on that is insane. It is -30 on block, so don't use it, right next to your opponent. But it's an amazing whiff punish. Again, we're gonna cover this in the strategy section video. But you're going to be doing a lot of whiff punishing with Azwel. You're going to be like coming up and doing block strings, and then just backing off and seeing what your opponent does. And so say your opponent, let's go standing guard all. So let's say you do that, and they're expecting a follow-up forward B. All right, let's say you've been hitting them with that a lot. So you do that, and then you just back off and you see them guard impact. Well, first you have to be in soul mode. All right, but now your moves are crazy fast. You're going nuts in soul mode. You do that, and then you back off your opponent guard impacts. Well, now they're screwed. You just go into that, and they're gonna get hit and take that like 55% damage or whatever it is. So it's an amazing whiff punish. So yeah, that pretty much covers all of Azwel's moves. If I left any out, especially in the best move section or anything like that, or forgot a lethal hit or anything weird, please share it in the comments below, and I will address any of your comments as soon as possible. Thanks for viewing.